What are the artifacts that make up a life? Genealogy, as a discipline, is mostly concerned with names and dates. Births, marriages, deaths. An examination of any genealogical record will include these vital statistics, gleaned from birth certificates, marriage licenses, obituaries, and other scraps from the official record of our lives that we leave behind. Genealogists gather and organize these facts into a family story, but the documentary evidence we leave behind paints an at best incomplete picture of who we actually were. The barest skeleton of a story containing only that which is reflected in official documents and family heirlooms. What will future generations glean from an examination of the documents and ephemera that you leave behind? Who will care enough after you're gone to assemble that information and tell your story? These are the questions I struggled with as I researched the life of Miss Isabel Ida Simon, my great-grand-aunt, better known in my family as Aunt Belle. I never knew that Aunt Belle existed until I became interested in genealogy as a COVID hobby during the spring of 2020 and began digging into the Simon family history. Belle was my great-grandfather's older sister, one of 7 children of my great-great-grandparents, Henry Jacob and Mary Alamang Simon. Belle never married and had no children, so she has no living descendants. Her name and the years she had lived appeared on the family tree, but there wasn't much more information about her that I could find. Until that is, I spent some time in the Rock Island County Historical Society, digging in the archives in search of information on the Simon family. It seems that in 1976, the Society sponsored a program as part of their bicentennial celebration, which offered families with ties to early Rock Island County settlers a chance to be recognized in an official index of pioneer families and their descendants. To be added to the list, families submitted documentation to the Historical Society that verified their ancestors had settled in the county prior to 1877. Several branches of Simmons submitted applications that year, including my great-aunt Nellie Simon Johnson, who gathered information from the far-flung family in order to paint the most complete picture she could. Among the documents and facts that Nellie submitted was an original essay about her Aunt Belle, composed by Nellie herself, that related Nellie's fond memories of her aunt. It wasn't an official document, it held no genealogical significance at the time, and it was not published publicly in any way, it seems. It's not clear to me who the intended audience for this essay was. The application materials that the essay accompanied were likely reviewed by Rock Island County Historical Society staff or volunteers, and then filed away in their library along with the rest of all the applicants' supporting materials. Nellie framed the essay as a tribute, intended to highlight the life of a woman who might otherwise have been overlooked in the rush to commemorate Rock Island's pioneer families.
There is one among the Simon family that was not fortunate to have someone speak out for her because she remained unmarried her entire life. Her name is Isabel Ida Simon, better known as Belle Simon, born March 4th, 1868, daughter of Henry Jacob Simon.
Nellie's essay is a loving tribute to her aunt. She described Belle as an intellectual, an artist, a secretary, and a homeowner.
In her life, she traveled, played piano, worked with her art, and had an overwhelming love for her mother.
What I gather from Nellie's essay and from the other scraps of information I've been able to find is that Belle was a creative, free spirit. She studied art and graduated from the Northern Indiana Normal School in Valparaiso. Normal School was the 19th century name for a teacher's college. She kept an art studio in Rock Island and offered classes in painting and piano lessons. Nellie writes that when she and her siblings on the Simon farm were of the age to attend high school, Nellie's father sent them, each in their turn, to stay with their Aunt Belle in Rock Island so they could go to school rather than just work on the farm.
One by one, the 4 of us descended upon her, but she was very strict. We had a deadline for supper and a curfew of 9:30 p.m. for bedtime. We could study until 9, and the 30 minutes were for social and/or exercise. She was very good to us, though she was strict. We all learned much from her, especially to tell time.
From the American Broadcasting Company's Bicentennial Center in New York City, Harry Reasoner.
Good morning. We're here, and we'll be here throughout the day in this red, white, and blue studio.
In July of 1976, the Rock Island County Historical Society had completed its index of pioneer families and published a list of original settlers of the county. Despite Nellie's thoughtful and loving tribute, Aunt Belle's name was not included in the document, though Nellie's was, as were Belle's parents and the names of all of her brothers. I have no doubt that this was just an oversight, the result of overworked and underpaid volunteers trying to meet a publication deadline. But the care and energy that Nellie had put into her essay, an essay that she knew almost nobody would read, touched me in a way I'm still trying to parse. I think I look at the life of Aunt Belle and see myself a bit. Perhaps it's because Belle was an independent, creative type who, like me, had no children, and so no one to carry her story forward. Or maybe it's just because my name is Bill Simon and hers was Belle Simon. Whatever the reason, I felt compelled to try and correct the oversight committed in 1976, and I hereby resubmit Aunt Belle's name and story into the record of our family.
Aunt Belle stood tall, straight, proud, and physically fit until the age of 78 in November, when she was forced to go to the hospital with what she thought was appendicitis. The doctor operated only to find deadly cancer. He could do nothing for her, but she never knew anything other than her appendix were removed. On one of my visits during her short period in the hospital, she asked, "Do you think I will be home for Thanksgiving?" And I answered, "Yes, Aunt Belle, I think you will. And the warmth of the hand clasp will always be felt." We were talking of two different homes, but it was the easiest question she could have asked me.
Belle Simon died the Saturday after Thanksgiving, November 30th, 1946, at the age of 78.